Robert Irwin. Welcome to the Stellar Podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here and talk to you.
You've had a big year and I want to unpack a lot of it during our conversation today. But it's Logie season, so I thought we'd start there.
Oh, okay, fun.
You're wearing two hats. I mean, I don't actually know what you're wearing on August 16 to the Logies. So maybe I tried
to have them, let me wear khaki. They said no. They said it has to be a tuxedo, but the khakis are always in my heart, in my soul.
Absolutely. And look, you're host as well as being nominated in 2 categories.
Yeah.
So,
I
mean, far be it from me to get you in trouble with the Logies organisers, but I think you can have as many costume changes as you see fit.
Well, I like that. I think that's a great idea. It's such an honour, honestly. It's like very, very surreal. I remember, first of all, I think kind of my first real venture out of khaki was with you guys. It was with Stella. Yeah. We were kind of reminiscing on that just before when we just first came in. It was 2022, wasn't it?
It sure was.
And yeah, so I feel like now my life, there's this contrast between the work that I do in the mud, in my khakis, getting it done, and then also sort of this platform that I try and create as well. And I feel like the Logies is such a great example of that because I'm the entire month of August, this whole month, I'm up north on a crocodile research expedition in Cape York, right? So I'm catching wild crocodiles. It's like a catch tag release thing. And I'm up there for a month. And then for those 4 days, the 4 little Logies days, I fly down, I wash off the mangrove mud, I change out of my khakis to a tuxedo, I host the Logies, and then I fly straight back up there again. So I feel like it's just a perfect example of what life is like at the moment. But yeah, I grew up, as everyone does in Australia, watching the Logies, and I think it's cool for the 70th anniversary that we've sort of got, I guess, the next generation to kind of celebrate the legacy of the Logies. I think that's why I'm sort of coming on board as a host and why I'm excited to be the youngest host, because I feel like it's sort of a celebration of the 70 years and the fact that there's kind of a new era. There's a crop of people that are here to carry it on for another 70 years. When I got the call, I said to them, I'm like, guys, I really want to do this, but there's a certain amount of people you need to be able to catch crocodiles. And I'm like, you're going to be down a man. So you guys are going to be all good. Can you cover for me? And they're like, yep, we can cover for you. We got you. You go host and see you in a few days. We'll get the crocs all sorted. So I'm like, okay, great.
I like, because you've really got to weigh things up when you need it in 2 places.
Exactly.
At once.
Exactly.
So look, wearing multiple hats metaphorically on the night, not going to be a problem for you.
No, it'll be all good. Everyone keeps saying, oh, you must be nervous for it. And I'm like, well, I'm going to come straight from catching crocodiles. I'm pretty sure no one on the Logies night's going to be trying to eat me, right? So, so it can't be that dangerous.
I mean, I was going to ask you, are you planning any wildlife cameos? Because I'm sure I said to Julia Morris, there's got to be a joke somewhere in the fact that, there's been a few snakes on stage during Logie's history of the literal and the non-literal kind.
Great.
So there's got to be something there. Actually, the generational aspect is an interesting one, Robert, because I had Bridie Drake, who's TikTok Creator of the Year on the Stellar Podcast early this year.
Great.
And she had met you earlier this year in LA, and you had just been announced as Logie's host only about a week before I spoke to her. So I asked her about that, and she said, oh, what of the Logies? And she was quite embarrassed. She said this on air, so I'm not, it was quite a funny, authentic moment. And so I was explaining to her what the Logies are. Bridie is 25, she's Gen Z, you're Gen Z. I think there is a real moment of generational change. How do you plan to tackle that? Because there will be people watching from home and in the room that have been part of Logie's folklore for decades and decades, all the way through to people Gen Z and, my own sons, for example, who are Generation Alpha and probably going, what are the Logies, Mum, that you're always talking
that's right.
about?
We've got Alpha now. It's so funny. I'm the most millennial Gen Z. I'm out of the loop with everything. Everyone goes, all my friends are like, I one of these new references or 6'7" or whatever, it'll go right over my head, And my friends are like, oh, do you live under a rock? And I'm like, no, I live in a zoo, which is the same thing.
Have you always been like that?
Oh, I have a little bit. But funnily enough, I think I'm probably the most up with the Gen Z out of all of my family, you know. My sister's also technically Gen Z, but she's like got the heart and soul of like an 80-year-old, you know. So, but I think when you live and work in a zoo, it's kind of like that. It's like when you work or live growing up out on a farm. It's a similar sort of thing, you know. But yeah, I think with the Logies, I feel like my job as host for this is really to kind of create this sort of new era. And, you know, I look at Sam Pang, you know, what he did as host, and I'm like, it's great. We've sort of had these eras. His hosting era is just fantastic. His style, his wit, and that just like that savage roast that still somehow feels warm and funny and inviting. No one else can do that, you know. So I'm like, I want to do something different. I want to preserve his Logie's legacy and kind of create something new. I want this to be like this celebration of Aussie TV and to kind of lift everyone up. I want it to be big and bold and theatrical and really throw the kitchen sink at it, you know. But I think it's important for me, like, I feel like so many young people, Gen Z, probably wouldn't even realize just how much we've all grown up with Aussie TV, whether we kind of realize it or not. In the zeitgeist, in what we say, in our jokes, in our sayings, you know, whether it's straight to the pool room, or time to hit the road, or, you know, it's so much in our vocabulary. It's in everything, and I feel like my job is to sort of pay tribute to the Australian TV legacy, which is the reason why I'm here. I mean, I continue the legacy that my family and really that my mum and dad created, you know, and they kind of pioneered this amazing new age in television, and they had such a cause behind that. So my life is really about continuing that cause. I know what it's like to follow a legacy and kind of run it up to the next generation. But I feel like my job is also to bring in a new audience. It's to bring in my fellow Gen Z, people who haven't watched the Logies, who don't even really know what this is all about, and say, hey, this is cool. Like, I want to make the Logies cool for everyone, for every demographic, because it has been for 70 years. And, you know, I think back to not only my family, but I think back to growing up watching my, like, Aussie TV heroes, like Russell Coit, you know, all Aussie adventures. Just Glenn Robbins, the most hilarious bloke in the world, Kath and Kim, watching Magda on that. You know, I think about that, and I think we have such an incredibly rich culture that is based around our television, our movies, and I'm excited to celebrate that. And I feel like it really is going to be like hey, look at the legacy. Let's pay tribute to the legends that have made it what it is. But now let's also celebrate the fact that there are a lot of young people who are tackling movies and TV in Australia and that are doing a really great job, that are going to bring it to the fore, and that's going to be the future.
Now, I know you probably can't reveal too many secrets about opening monologue and what you've got planned, but I
can reveal a little bit.
Oh, great. Oh, excellent. Now, we all know that you can dance. Everyone in the world knows that Robert Irwin is an excellent dancer, a reigning winner, of course, of Dancing with the Stars US. Oh. So can we expect to see a little bit of dancing, a little bit of singing? Is there a little bit of Hugh Jackman, Billy Crystal, Anne Hathaway, you know, insert award host of choice here?
I don't know if Seven's going to come for me. I don't know how much I can say, but I'm gonna reveal a little bit. Yes, it's going to be very big and very theatrical and very much. I want it to sort of meld together everything that I'm kind of about and everything that I love, and so there will be the khaki uniform will make an appearance. There will be some throwbacks in the opening of the Logies. There's going to be some nostalgia that really fits in and ties in very well with my kind of background as an animal conservationist, which is very important to me. And I really wanted to make sure that this, as is everything that I do, that this is a continuation of creating a bigger platform for my message of wildlife conservation. Whether you like it or not, no matter where I am, no matter what stage I'm on, that's still where everything comes from for me. That's the center of everything. And I feel like I get to reach a different audience doing this. So there's definitely got to be animal, wildlife, Australia Zoo, Khaki involvement. But then I think we're also going to meld kind of another love of mine that I never thought would be part of my life, which is doing the whole song and dance. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's going to be very, very theatrical. And let's just say I may need to etch out some time to learn some choreography. I'll leave it at that.
When you're up north with the Crocs, you might just need to go, excuse me, everyone. I just need to go and do a quick
you guys have got this. Yeah, let me go warm up.
So if I haven't totally exhausted this analogy about wearing multiple hats.
Yes, no, I love it.
On August 16, you are there as host.
Yes.
And not to put any pressure on you, it sounds absolutely fantastic.
It's going to be fun.
I'm going to get my two sons, Gen Alpha, represented by
good.
Watching it with me.
Great.
But you are there also, of course, Robert, as a nominee in two categories, including the biggest honour of the night, the Gold Logie category. Yeah. So logistically, emotionally, mentally, how do you prepare for that? Because if you win the Gold Logie, which I've got to say has got to be a very high chance. I mean, I don't know if you have a reaction to that. I don't expect you to, but that's me saying that.
No, I do. But
no. But then, logistically, whoever wins the gold, then the host comes on, which checks notes is Robert.
It's me.
Youngest
I hope I'm still host by then.
Person to host the TV Week Logie Awards. And so then you'd come on and say, good night, everyone. Yeah. So, over to you.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I am wearing many hats. I am, of course, hosting, and I am nominated. And being nominated for the gold, let me preface this with this, right? This is a huge honor, and it's not something I take lightly. I grew up watching the Logies. My dad presented at the Logies. I remember watching my dad being inducted into the Hall of Fame. I've presented. I've been nominated. It's been such a part of my life. And for me, first of all, being nominated, it's not about Robert Irwin being nominated. It's about a wildlife conservationist being nominated. It's not about me hosting the Logies. It's the fact that a wildlife conservationist is hosting the Logies. That's what is a big deal to me. That's what I love. It's the fact that any recognition for me isn't recognition for me. It's recognition for my message that I so proudly spread, And my dad always used to say it best, don't care if people remember me, do care they remember my message. So that means a lot to me. How cool that Australia is ready for like some bloke from Biwa, an environmentalist, to be on that sort of stage. That's wonderful. But host nominated, my third hat, which is the most important hat that I wear on the night, is hardcore campaigner for Julia Morris. I am campaigning so hard for her win. It will not be me on that stage winning gold. It better not be. It better not be anybody else. It better be Julia Morris on that stage getting gold. I'm telling you, she's been nominated 5 times. She has been the legend of Aussie TV for so long. She'll never say this. She has this humor and humble humility about her that's just like incredible. She's always lifting everyone else up. She's always celebrating everyone else. She always wants to see everyone else succeed. And I think it is so about time that she gets that gold Logie. So, yeah, I am campaigning so hard for her. Everybody keeps asking me, what's your pitch to win gold? I'm like, I have no pitch. My pitch is that Julia Morris should win gold. Seriously, if you were going to vote for me, please don't vote for Julia. If you were going to vote for anyone else, I will find you. I have venomous snakes at my disposal. I have saltwater crocodiles that I can release on you all. And I'm usually very mild-mannered, but when it comes to this, 5 times, it's Julia Morris's turn to win a gold Logie. So I'm going to be campaigning hard on the night. I'm going to be campaigning hard in the lead-up. I love her to death, and I think it's definitely time that she gets that gold. So yes, very honoured to be nominated. But it's Julia's turn. It better be.
Oh, Robert, I love everything you just said. And I actually want to quote some of Julia Morris back to you. So Julia was here with me in the Stellar podcast studio only a few weeks ago. We were talking about exactly what you've spoken about, her fifth time being nominated for the Gold Logie. And I asked her about her nomination and, of course, about yours. Here's what Julia said. Right. I think the best idea is to give it to someone else. And when I say someone else, obviously I mean Robert. No. I speak often about Robert being the future of television, a young voice that's decent, that knows what they're doing, is very funny. Now, I can't give justice to Julia's voice there, but they were her words.
I can imagine her voice.
It felt like giving your beautiful words about her to repeat her beautiful words about you back to you now.
Oh, that's so... I mean, wow, we're not very good at campaigning for a Gold Logie, are we? Either of us. She's like, Robert better win. I'm like, Julia better win. Oh my gosh. I think this sums us up very well. We've been nominated together once before, and it was really quite funny because we did some like press together, and it was really quite, it was kind of awkward because everybody would, everyone's asking like, why should we vote for you, Robert? Why should we vote for Julia? And we're both like, no, you shouldn't. You should, that Spider-Man meme where they're all pointing at each other? That was us. We're like, no, you need to vote for Julia. You need to vote for Robert. I love that. But see, there you go. That right there is why you should vote for Julia. That's classic Julia. She's so giving and so uplifting of everyone around her. I've learnt so much from her. And she's been such an incredible kind of guiding light for me in the last few years. And it was just such an honor to host I'm a Celeb with her, to get to work with her properly. I consider her a lifelong friend. And, I that means a lot for what she said about being the future. But I mean, she's really pioneered something. She's a real pioneer. She's someone who is so incredibly authentic and incredibly passionate and has like this sense of, she just lives at 100%. And I love being around people like that. Like that's my family, that's what I consider. It's what life's about, to find what you love and give it everything. And she exemplifies that. So she is the most deserving person of every award and every accolade. And that's very kind of her to say, but sorry, Julia, I'm still campaigning for you. You can say whatever you want, but you should win. Julia should win.
I really do think we could solve so many of the world's problems if we had that sort of energy that you and Julia are bringing to the so-called campaigning for the Gold Logie, to our politics. We would have world peace and people would
We got to lift each other up, don't we? Yeah,
amongst ourselves.
Yeah, we've got to lift each other up. That's the most important thing. Like, I know what it is to lean on people. Like, I wouldn't be where I am without my family and friends and the people that I'm closest with around me. That includes Julia. I wouldn't be who I am or where I am without that. And it is equally important, to lean on people like that. We also have to be that person for everyone around us. There's this thing my mum always used to say, which is at the end of every day, you should always remember your favorite part of the day, what you most look forward to the next day, and what was your good deed for the day. What's good, something good you did for someone else, And that's a great mindset to be in, It always keeps you grateful for the people around you that you can lean on and try and lift everybody else up. Treat everyone how you want to be treated, and you'll get it all back.
That's such great advice from your mum. Do you still follow that?
Definitely, every day. I really do. Yeah. And we talk about it a lot. I was reflecting on this a couple of days ago. Not every day is like a triumph, Like, I'm sure when I'm hosting the Logies, I'm going to know what my favorite part of the day was. It'll be that, But some days that are hard, you kind of have to rack your brain. What was my favorite part of the day? But even if it's a really challenging day, getting into that mindset of, what did you appreciate that day? It also makes you think about, who did I lean on? Who was there for me that day? Maybe that's just yourself. Maybe you were the person who was there for you that day. And then what tomorrow? What can I do about tomorrow? How can I make that great? And then what's one thing I can do for someone else to lift them up. And it just kind of keeps you in this like cycle of not even glass half full. It's like just this cycle of looking at the world through a sense of gratitude. Like, how cool is it that I get to be here and spend another day with people I love, you know?
I really love that. Thanks for sharing that, because it really does shift your brain chemistry.
Yeah, it kind of does, doesn't it?
And
sorry, I kind of deviated, but I think it's interesting.
No,
it is,
I wanted to stay on it for a moment, because I know for me, I definitely try to practice some of the gratitude and the reflection and just thinking about things, because you as you say, some days are harder than others.
Yeah.
But even if it's just, well, I got out of bed this morning and the sun is shining.
Yeah, it was a nice cup of coffee in the morning. It was
exactly
the Vegemite on toast hit different, something like that.
That's right. But I love also your mum's advice there about reflecting on the good deed, because there's also, I think, a little bit of accountability there, isn't there? Where, because you'll catch yourself sometimes if you don't have that built into your daily routine, where you might think, oh, that felt really good that I did that favour for somebody or helped somebody out, but you're not necessarily building that into part of your DNA every day.
Yeah. And it's like, you know, it's that old saying, like it's sort of a cliche thing to say, but it's true. Like when you're giving a gift, it usually feels better than when you're receiving one. You know what I mean? Like when you're doing something good for someone else, that feeds your soul. That's very much... It's good for you. Like, I think that's what we were meant to do. Like, that's what human beings are meant to do. We're supposed to help each other out unconditionally. You know what I mean? And a good deed, I think that's the other important distinction. A good deed is something that you do with no promise of return, right? Like, that is how you know you're actually truly there for someone. If you're doing something kind for no particular reason other than to hopefully make their day a little better. You know, and that is what life's about, you know. And I truly believe in breaking the chain of negativity. Negativity is transactional. Positivity is universal. But negativity is so transactional. Like, you know, you're stuck in traffic and someone cuts you off and you want to slam on that horn. And then you do that, and that person's ticked off, and then the next person they encounter, they're just going to have that little bubble, you know, that little bubble that sits here, that little bubble of frustration, like, that guy honked at me, or that guy cut me off in traffic, or that guy was rude, or she didn't, you know, you kind of get this little welling, and then the next interaction you have, you can't help but let it sort of just rub off on the next person. It kind of bubbles up, and then they take it on board. You've sort of handballed it to them. And then they carry it to the next person. If you can be the person to break that chain of negativity, if you are faced with negativity, with the annoying person, with the person who cuts you off in traffic, someone who says something that you don't agree with, or that you go, no, if you can take that on board, kind of let it in and let it out and greet that negativity with positivity, still stand up for yourself. I mean, don't be a pushover. If you need to, mate, fight back when you need to, 100%. But what I'm saying is, if you can break that chain of transactional negativity and try and greet everything with a sense of like acceptance, and just go forth with positivity, fight fire with positivity. You know what I mean? You're gonna live a happier life, and you're not going to carry it over to the next person.
You know, the internet very rarely has nice things to say or even gets things right. So I think this might be the first time ever that I would be quoting the internet to one of my guests, because normally I might then, you know, have to escort them out. You know, we go and seek some professional help.
Honestly, right? Yeah.
But there's just some fabulous comments about you on the internet. Here we go. You've been described as a walking green flag that women need right now. Other headlines have said, yes, Robert Irwin really is that nice. In a world of Andrew Tate's and Joe Rogan's, be a Robert Irwin. Not to get too heavy here, but I do think, as certainly for me as a mum of two teenage boys, I think there's a lot of discussion around, you know, toxic masculinity and the role modelling that's available for young men. And I just think what you've just spoken about is exactly the sort of energy that we need. I know that's the second time I've said that phrase.
I appreciate it.
But I think especially coming from someone of your global status, and you definitely have become an absolute bona fide global superstar this year if you weren't already. But to have that energy, I think is so important. Are you aware of that? And does that bring a pressure when people like me say that to you?
Well, first of all, it really means a lot. I feel like I was kind of born with a platform which is a very unique and unusual sort of position to be in, for sure. And I feel a great responsibility to try and use that for good, and to try and take the lessons that my family instilled in me. And I know how much that has helped me, and I want to kind of help other people with that. I talk about what my mum would talk about, the three things at the end of every day, that rule. Things like that. I am so grateful for the upbringing that I've had and the lessons that I've learned. The lessons that I've learned from my family, the things I've sort of figured out myself through ups and downs and loss and love and all the things that everybody goes through. And I feel like my job has gotten deeper than just a wildlife conservationist. That'll always be central to what I do. But I do also feel that it is a great honor and really the honor of my lifetime as well, to hopefully try and be someone that young people, young blokes can kind of look at and go, all right, that's a good example. Because I think that there is a lot of talk around masculinity and young blokes kind of not really knowing where to turn, what to do. And I think we sort of forget the power in vulnerability. I think we kind of forget that. I think we forget that, like, masculinity is not tough it out, you'll be right. It's not like some sort of, tough macho thing. No, it's about understanding yourself and accepting yourself, accepting the people around you. And I think it's very important. I have kind of come to realize over the last kind of year or two just how important vulnerability really is. How important it is, for me. I want to be very visible and very vocal I self-proclaimed, I'm a very positive person. I really am. But also in saying it's okay, even if you're the most positive person in the world, to sometimes be vulnerable or emotional, or some days a little down. Some days are great, some days aren't. And some days, positivity and being happy sometimes is a choice. Sometimes it doesn't come naturally. Sometimes it's something that we actually have to actively, work towards. And I feel like that has ended up kind of being part of my message. And, I'm kind of going through the motions of life and trying to figure it out as we all are. But the lessons that I learn along the way, if I can hopefully inspire other people with that, and I guess kind of give advice on the way I've navigated, for example, loss and grief particularly, I see that as a really important part of what I do. But yeah, I think, I was raised by two very powerful women, my mum and my sister, really, who kind of raised me. And I think when you live in that sort of environment, when you're raised by like this amazing, like matriarchal society, really, that was built around me. You also look at Australia Zoo. The majority of our upper management is women as well, which is very, very cool and very rare in big businesses like that. And so I kind of feel like that was the greatest gift I've ever received, is the two strong women, my mum and my sister, who really raised me and really shaped me into who I am today. And yeah, I just want to share the lessons that they've taught me with as many people as possible. And yeah, I think if we all, particularly guys, can kind of look and accept and be okay with vulnerability and realize that there's really nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing wrong with leaning on people, on other people to help you out, get you through that tough time, and being that person for others, being someone who, to be there for someone else when they're in a tough time. That is just like that's like classic Aussie mateship, isn't it? You know, and you don't have to do anything crazy. You just got to listen. You just got to be there. You just got to be present, vulnerable, open. So yeah, you know, that's a big thing to talk about, and it's a big thing, and it means a lot for you to say that. But you know, I just feel like I've had, two incredible people inspiring me, and I just want to share those lessons with others.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about empathy too, Robert. I was just last night, I was watching in this massive year you've had on top of winning Dancing with the Stars in the US. You're currently hosting DWTS, the Next Pro.
Yeah.
And I was watching a clip about that. I lost my mum when I was 17. Everyone's journey is very different, but I do think there is, in my experience, a bit of a universal threads of empathy and shared understanding for anyone that's lost a parent when they were young. Obviously, you were much younger than me. But when I saw you interviewing, you were talking to somebody and he was doing a dance as a tribute to his mother who had passed away, and you shared a bit of your story. And that empathy really resonated with me. Do you think that that would have been innate to you? We've spoken about bravery and resilience, but also that empathy is an underrated quality, I believe, at the risk of big noting myself, because I think empathy is important to all storytelling and journalism.
Oh, yeah.
Or do you think that is a result of some of what you've been through, particularly, obviously, losing your dad at such a young age?
I think, well, first of all, sorry that you're in the same club. You know, it's an interesting thing. Loss is a very isolating thing, but I think in time and when you sort of gain perspective, it can become a very unifying thing. I think it's something we obviously all go through at some point, and no two grief journeys are the same. But I think, you know, I feel it's very valuable throughout my life. You know, there are people, not just my family, but other people that I've, you know, encountered on my journey who have gone through similar things, you can kind of, in a way, it sounds weird, but you almost kind of compare notes. You sort of go, well, how did you get through this particular facet? How did you get through this? How did you overcome that? And it feels to me like when I'm around someone who has lost a parent, and this was very apparent on this episode we did, Next Pro. It's an amazing dancer named Alan, and he, his mum's dream was for him to be on Dancing with the Stars, was to go and compete on that show, because they kind of grew up bonding over this show, right, and this shared love of dance. And when she passed, he was like, okay, this is my mission. I'm going to make this happen. And he came on board in the show, and he just shines. He's amazing. And yeah, I definitely, there was a moment, where he dedicated a dance to his mum. And I wanted to just go over and sort of talk, and we talked a lot on and off camera, just about kind of just comparing notes. And it was as therapeutic for me as it was for him, because I lost my dad when I was very, very young. I was super young. So I don't have many memories. I don't have a lot to pull from, you know. And everybody's grief journey is different, but it was very therapeutic to speak to him about that. And that sense of empathy and understanding, I think when you experience loss at a young age, it's almost like it's part of factory settings. You know what I mean? It's like you have this understanding, and it's kind of like always welling there right under the surface. But it's so therapeutic when there's someone around who is willing to be open, to be vulnerable. And while we were having this conversation, we sort of forgot that there's cameras rolling for a minute. And all of a sudden, like, a competition dance show becomes an incredibly therapeutic, mutual experience of overcoming grief. And then you sort of remember, wait a minute, there's cameras here. And you go, wow, okay, people are watching this. People are hopefully going to take inspiration from this. And that's what I found dance to be. It's like this universal expression, right? It's like such an expression of self. And we compared notes because I had dedicated a dance on my season of Dancing with the Stars to my mum, and the way that she sort of helped me through this journey of grief. And you know, it was, and we talked a lot about the people in our own lives that kind of helped us navigate that at a young age. yeah, I think it's incredibly special. And it's not going to fix anything. It's not going to... Talking to someone about this shared experience, you're not going to go, oh, magically, I've moved on now. I'm fine. Yeah. But it's actually strangely nice sometimes to sit in it, to talk to someone who gets it, and to sort of just go, I feel that. And it's this weird sort of unspoken thing. Like, I'm sure if we really sat down and dug into it, you know, you'd shed a lot of tears and you'd probably kind of come to this sense of clarity. That's the thing with loss. If you can be empathetic to the other people around you who've experienced that grief, and you're willing to be open and vulnerable as much as you can, you're not going to gain, I wouldn't call it closure, but I'd call it clarity. You definitely have more clarity. It was described to me a while ago as like loss is like this all-consuming shadow, but eventually it can become like the setting sun. It's the shadow that walks beside you. It's not inside. You can expect it to walk beside you. It's your shadow. It'll never leave, but you can expect for it to, at some point, be side by side with you. You can come to a form of clarity and almost like agreement and understanding with it. So yeah, I think empathy is the greatest human quality, and it's so leveling and it's so universal, and we forget in the trials and tribulations of life, and when someone's bugging you, or when, you know, like, that we've all gone through loss, all of us, and we all will at some point. And it is like this universal thing that kind of binds us all together, I think, in a way. And if we can sort of recognize that and kind of lay down our arms every now and again and let that in and have that conversation, I think you'd be surprised with how much it can help both parties.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Like that so many genuinely beautiful and wise things in what you just said.
Oh, thanks.
And when I was watching that clip of you on Dancing with the Stars, The Next Pro, I thought, this was not on my bingo card.
Yeah.
To be crying, by the way.
I know.
I actually cried watching that. So I think there is a lot of power and impact and generosity in those moments.
Absolutely, and making it kind of universal and visible.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about your relationship with the public, which is such a broad question, but that sort of interaction, some of what we've already spoken about, these moments that really make people feel seen, and then the moments of levity where people just go, that really made me laugh at the Logies, I had never thought about conservation until you opened up my eyes to that. And how are you enjoying this particular time in your life as a public figure?
Well, I think the nice thing is, and you know, I have a lot of friends who are in the public eye as well, and who've done very well in their own respective fields, and I think what's nice, and I think what I'm so grateful for, and what really is the reason why I can stay, you know, I can keep on this like path of true north. My reason for everything is I've got a cause behind everything that I do. And I think people see that and recognize that. And when they do see that and recognize that, that is just, it makes everything so much easier, you know, because my interactions are very different to your Kardashian, right? Like, people don't, for the most part, it's not just like, oh, I want to come up and have a selfie. All right, take a photo, bye. A lot of the time, people come up to me and they'll share some sort of story, and they'll say, oh, you know, thanks for the work that you do, or hey, this is how your dad inspired me. You know, I get that all the time, and I love it. And people will always say, oh, I'm sure you get this all the time, but, you know, your dad really... And I'm like, I do hear this a lot, and I love it. And it's not... People come up to me like, oh, I'm sure you hear this all the time. I'm like, I do, and I want to hear more of it. This is great. Please share that story. You know, I love that. And it's so important to me, like that cause that drives everything. That spirit of fun and family and positivity that my mum and dad really started. I feel like it's my job to continue that legacy and bring that into a new generation. And, you know, that, of course, being in the public eye your whole life, like, that comes with so many weird challenges, you know, and there's always going to be challenges. But those challenges never come from the people that I interact with. that I love that. I consider you talk about like relationship with the public. I see that as a conversation with my mates. You know what I mean? It's like these are people that whether I've met them or not, they are on my journey with me. They hear the message that I have. They're listening to that. And that is what means everything to me, honestly. Oh God, I just bumped your microphone. It means everything to me. And it really is so important to me. The only challenges come from usually like paparazzi and stuff like that.
I was going to say, here, the media.
No. Not you specific. Stella's great. I've got nothing but great things to say about you guys. But, that can sometimes be challenging. There are the times where, every now and again you're kind of having a rough day and, you step off the airplane and it's been a 14-hour flight and you look horrible. And I remember one time I came off a flight and I'd just gotten back from the UK, and on descent, a text comes through. Let me give you some context. I had a pet chicken named Piggy, who was like, I got her when I was like 2.5, like 3 years old. It was right after my dad passed, actually, and she was like kind of my best friend growing up. Oh my God, I can't even talk about Piggy. It makes me so emotional. Oh God. And she was a chicken, but she's just a chicken, but she was so much more than a chicken. And I was like 16, I think I was 16, and I was landing. She was lived to be like the oldest chicken ever, right? She was like 13 years old. And I'm landing and I got the text that she passed away, and I was so sad. And I got off the plane and there's a bunch of cameras and they're all taking photos of me. And I usually don't care, but I was cut. I was absolutely cut up. And I looked obviously very sad. And then the reports come out on like, oh, there's a family rift between Robert and his sister, or Robert and his mum. I don't know what it was. Or, oh, Robert's mum is doing this. They always villainize mum for some reason. You know what I mean? No, and Robert's all upset and because of this. And I'm like, dude, my pet chicken just died. Cool it. Yeah. All right? Like, no. Don't start creating some sort of drama. Creating some sort of family drama just because my pet chicken died. That's the only thing that sort of gets a little bit frustrating, But to me, I always look at, I look at any interest towards myself and I go, well, that is a positive because it means people are listening to my message, what I represent. Every now and again, it can be challenging like that. But all in all, even if it's something as silly and trivial as the paparazzi, taking a photo of you outside the grocery store, I go, well, you know what? At least my message is being felt, and I really don't mind, what you have to say about me, and I don't read anything that's published, but I go, okay, if my platform is reaching people, if I'm getting out there into the world, then what I stand for, this message, this optimism, this sense of urgency for the environment, and this real sense of hopefully kind of kindness and empathy, that I can sort of be that role model for the next generation, for the young bloke who's kind of coming up, who's feeling a little lost. I hope that I can sort of be that. So any sort of visibility for that is very important. So yeah, there are times where I don't get it, where I'm like, I don't think I'm personally that interesting. I don't think you need paparazzi. I don't get why this is so interesting, but I think that my work and what I do is so important, and it's so important to me. And yeah, my interactions with people.
Yeah.
It's everything. It's so important to me.
It's the paparazzi and the pesky media. That's
and it's like a double-edged sword, isn't it? And I think for the most part, the only thing that gets me is like when it gets very personal. I'm like, I just simply don't understand. It's like I'm just the same as anyone else. What I do in my personal life, like whether whatever it is, like that doesn't really matter. I'm here fighting climate change. I'm here trying to save the world. Like. That's what's important. What I ate for breakfast or, what pant leg I put on first doesn't matter. Who cares?
I think you wear it with a great deal of grace and goodwill. And I really do mean that, because it is clearly challenging at moments like when you got that terrible news and you about your pet chicken, and you just should be able to navigate
my chicken
that
died.
like with how just ball your eyes off and walk through the terminal just like being able to process that moment.
And that's the thing is like it's the only thing that bugged me about that. It wasn't even being photographed. It was the fact that they then went and created a story that's untrue. A story about my family. There's always, I think we get along so genuinely well. Like we're genuinely the most undramatic family, and we actually I know it's hard to believe, but we actually genuinely just love each other, and we're pretty boring. It really, the life we live, what we do is so crazy and so exciting and so unusual and so whoa, this is insane. But our family dynamic is so undramatic. It's vanilla, which is great. We all want that, right? That's what it's all about. And so whenever I see there's Irwin family drama, I'm like, oh my gosh, let me roll my eyes at that. But mate, we got bigger things to talk about. We got to talk about, habitat destruction and anti-poaching, and that's what we should be talking about. There's no family drama. It's pretty funny.
What about speculation about your personal life and romantic relationships? Because I think that's become a really hot topic, especially I think over the last couple of years, and with your profile and the way that your persona has changed even more publicly. How do you deal with that? Yeah,
it's interesting. It's like one of those things where, again, I'm like, I don't get why it's so particularly interesting. But I think it's something where there are parts of my life that are, my real personal sort of core that I do keep very, very personal. Where I live, my home in the zoo, my real deep personal sort of life. I do keep that very personal, and that's important to me, But again, I sort of see it as sometimes I laugh, there are times over the last few years that I'll be linked with literally anyone. If I'm just walking on a sidewalk next to, if it's a female under the age of 30 that I'm in any sort of proximity.
Engaged,
we're getting married, so I've definitely experienced that over the last kind of year or two. It's definitely a lot more, which is, I just kind of have a laugh, and I'm like, oh, that's all good. It's fine. No. And really I just go, it's par for the course. And again, I'm like, great. If any sort of my job then becomes any interest that there is in me or personally or what have you, my job then is to kind of pivot that into my message. You know what I mean? Is to kind of pivot that and go, oh, there's a lot of interest in this, that, and the other thing. Yeah, sure. But what we should really be talking about is our wildlife hospital's just taken in its 160,000th patient. How cool is that? Who cares? Who cares about, is Robert going to do The Bachelor? That's what matters. You know what I mean? And so I found, there's a great example of this. When I was doing Dancing with the Stars, after every week, after every live performance, you do the press line. You do this really big press event. And there's basically the world's press that talk to you, right? Every week, the questions at the start of the season were very similar. It was we talk about the dance you did. We talk a little bit about, this and that and how you're finding it all. And, oh my gosh, who are you dating? And is it true you're going to do The Bachelor? You know what I mean? It was always those same questions. And then I worked very hard at it. And about week 5 or week 6, I noticed this shift where I would go, oh, ha, yeah, sure. And I would sort of subtly work in just a little point about news from back home, about a koala that we'd rescued, or news about our wildlife hospital, or a conservation project we'd just started, or the crocodile research that we do. Around week 5, the questions started becoming, hey, tell us about that koala you were talking about last week. Well How is it doing? Or I heard that you have a reserve that's this big national park you guys run. What is that all about? Oh, so tell us more about Australia Zoo. What's the work that you do back there? And I felt the questions sort of start to change, and I went, aha, That's my job. It's like this epiphany. My job is to sort of like infiltrate every different space, even if it's not a wildlife documentary. Maybe it's the ballroom. Maybe it's the course on Australian Ninja Warrior. Maybe it's the Logies stage. All these different things. And very subtly, just thread this needle through this little thread of wildlife conservation, and very subtly get people interested and on board, and create this sense of, when you look at me, when you see the dating speculation, or the Robert's hosting the Logies, or Robert's doing this, or whether it's true or not true, my job is, when you see me, when you see this face, you think, oh, that's that conservationist, that's that animal kid, oh, that's right. That's my job, is I want to represent my message, everything that I'm about, everything that's behind me, everything that's come before. I want to be the face of that, and any interest in me, my job is to then go, but have you thought about conservation? You know what I mean? So I take the dating speculation and all of that. I'm like, my personal life is personal. I'm not going to get into all that, but I'll take any of that interest and I'll go, let me redirect you into something that actually matters.
So Australia Zoo, which has been a cornerstone, as just beautifully articulated, of your work, of your life's mission, also geographically where you're based, with your career literally global, how do you manage that? And is there a world where you would ever see yourself spending more of the year overseas? Yeah,
it's a great question. Honestly, it's something that I'm trying to navigate as well. Things are pulling me in so many different directions, and I feel this great sense of passion in bringing that message to different audiences and to reach everyone with that passion, that positivity, that conservation message. But equally important is to be at home and to be doing the work that I love. You know what I mean? And so this kind of lasts pretty much a year. I've been traveling so much, but quite literally, when I finish up this discussion, right, and literally in a couple of days, I fly through Melbourne back to Brisbane, and then I go up to Cape York to catch crocodiles for a month, and literally from August onward, the rest of the year, I'm at home. I'm up north catching crocs, which I consider home, and then I'm at Australia Zoo, right, and so. It's so important to me. Yeah, I always carve out those blocks where I can be at home, I can be doing what I love. In the khakis, I'm covered in mud. I'm doing the work, doing what I love. And that is so important. Not only professionally in my work, but it's also so important personally. That's what fills my cup when I'm with my family and I'm in there and I'm doing what I love. Which. I love the Logies. I love doing all that stuff. It's a great way to get the message out. But who I am and what I do and where my heart beats from, it's Australia Zoo. It's home. It's the conservation work that we do through our charity, through Wildlife Warriors globally, and throughout our different conservation properties that we have in Australia. We protect about 500,000 acres of land throughout the state. It's getting out, doing that work that really fills my cup. So it is so important to me that I always carve out those times. And for me, the rest of the year is home. So I'm going to be probably a little more off the radar actually for the rest of this year. And then the end of the year, it kicks back up into a really, really high gear, which I wish I could say more about. But the end of this year, there's going to be crazy. But yeah,
you'll have to come back. And
I'll come back and tell you about it.
I think you have definitely earned a little bit of time off the radar. So but my final question actually is about legacy, and I feel like that is a wild question, no pun intended, to be asking someone who is 22.
Yeah,
but. When you last spoke to Stella in 2024, you talked about family legacy, your mum, your sister, and of course your dad. And next month will be the 20th anniversary since you lost your dad. And you said to us 2 years ago, I am very conscious of honouring the legacy, but I want to do it in my own way. And if you don't mind me editorialising, I was thinking about that a lot in the lead up to talking to you, and I thought, damn, he has done that and more at 22. You have totally honoured and amplified that legacy, but done it in your very own unique Robert Irwin way. And I just wanted to ask for your thoughts on that, which are much more interesting than my thoughts as our final
I appreciate it, yeah. I've talked about it a lot before, how legacy is definitely one of, if not the most important part of my life. And you're right, it is sort of an interesting and strange thing to be talking about legacy at 22. But I look at my dad and I think he lived he packed a lot in. He lived at this level that was 100%. It was fast, enthusiastic all the time. And he only got 44 years to live like 10 lifetimes, really, And so I look at that and I go, that what an incredible example for me to follow, to live life at 100%. That is what life's about. And when you lose someone young, you can't help but think about legacy, right? And you think about the life that they lived, and you think about how short life is. And there's nothing, I feel like I'm creating my legacy, and there's nothing wrong with thinking about that early. What is the legacy you're creating? Time is fleeting. I don't know if I've got 20 years, 80 years. No one knows. We have no idea. So you might as well just do it all and do it now and have fun, right? So that, I feel like that is a very, very important to me, that I take this legacy that my dad created. It's like he would always liken it to like passing a football, right? But I sort of see it as like it's like this big lump of clay, and now I get to kind of mold it in my own sort of way, right? And eventually hand that on to the next generation, and I definitely think the legacy that he created, it is generational. It's universal. If there's one thing that we can all band together, it's our environment, and it's a sense of passion and fun and family. That's everything that he exemplified. And so what an honor it is to keep this beautiful, positive, incredible thing that he and my mum created, to keep that going and to modernize that and bring that into the next generation is everything. And to watch how Australia Zoo goes from strength to strength, how my mum has so bravely led the ship through really rough waters, through really, really rough waters, whether it's losing dad or the global financial crisis, COVID-19, running a business in this day and age is, oh my gosh, it's ridiculous. It is so challenging. And really, I look at the way Australia Zoo continues to go strength to strength. I feel like Dad would be so proud, but also I think he'd be so proud of how everything that is this place that he and Mum created, that message is still felt worldwide. Like, people still every day talk about the way Dad inspired them. And what an honor to make sure that everything he stood for can continue on forever, and doesn't matter where I am to do that, where I'm singing those praises, where I'm getting the word out, whether it's America or the UK or here in Australia doing the Logies, whatever it is, I'm following in those footsteps. And wherever I go, all roads lead back to Australia Zoo. They all lead back to home, and that's where it all stems from, truly. And it is a privilege for me. I rarely get opportunities like this, particularly to talk to someone I can trust, someone I've worked with a lot. I've worked with Stella so much, but it's a rare opportunity for me to talk to someone who you get it, you understand. I think there's a lot of similar experiences we've had, and to talk in a long form and really chew down to the bone about what this is really all about and kind of the why behind all of it. It gives me like this real sense of positivity and excitement, for the future. And I think this legacy that Dad created, it's crazy to say, but I think it's just getting started. It really is just getting started. He's not here to spread those messages, but now it's my turn. My sister, my little niece Grace, she's coming up quick, And so it's the next generation's turn to keep that going, and that is a real privilege. And I love talking about it. So thank you for giving me the ability to do that. I appreciate it very much.
Robert Irwin, the pleasure has been all mine. It's been genuinely a privilege to talk to you. I've really enjoyed our conversation.
And go vote for Julia, everybody.
Julia and Robert, I don't think you can go wrong with either of them. And the TV Week Logie Awards are on Sunday, 16th of August, live and exclusive on 7 and 7 Plus.
I'll see you there.
Robert Irwin, see you there. Thank you so much.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you.